And the movie, Phantom Film Buff is back, and he's giving you better quality videos. I am so sorry I missed X-Men Apocalypse. I just couldn't get around to seeing it. I really do apologise. But let's get started in my Superman reviews. Yes, I'm going to be reviewing all Superman movies. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Man of Steel. Yeah, so let's get started with the first one. So this film came out in 1978, and it was directed by Richard Donner, who'd only done one film. He'd only directed one theatrical film, and so it was really curious to see how it was going to play out. I know they'd been working on it for actually a couple of years, and I actually hadn't seen this film for actually quite a while. I'd rewatched it recently, but I hadn't really, you know, sort of watched it. Watched it. I kind of had it on in the background, so I was really curious to see how this film was going to hold up. And so, we all know the plot of this film. To all one of you who don't know the plot of this film, what it's about is a person who is sent from his dying planet of Krypton to bestow hope to the planet of Earth, and he then, of course, is seen as a superhero. He has a secret identity as Clark Kent. He loves Lois, you know, there's the romance, and then he has to stop Lex Luthor with his big evil scheme. That's the plot of the film in a nutshell. And so I was really curious to see how this film held up, because, like I said, it's from 1978, so how much of the humour is going to be dated? Is it going to sort of look, I mean, is it going to have a sort of a more older look? Because you know how some films, like whether they're from the 60s or 70s, they kind of have like a timeless look, like they could look like they just came out, you know, a couple of years ago, and or even in this year. I was curious to see how it held up. Thankfully, this film holds up magnificently. It is a terrific, terrific film, and if you haven't seen it, to all one of you, go and watch it. It is well worth your time. And so let's start reviewing this film. The direction. Richard Donner did a magnificent job directing this film. He really understood the lore of Superman. He understood the character, and he knew how to take it seriously, because before then we had the 60s TV show of Batman with Adam West. We'd had, you know, like the 40s and 50s TV shows of Superman, but they didn't take themselves seriously. They were very campy. They were very Saturday morning cartoon-like, but they are still good, you know. This was really the first time superheroes were actually taken seriously, and Richard Donner set out to, well, I don't think he set out to be the first one to do it, but he wanted this to be a serious take on the character, and he did it fantastically. And a large reason for that is perfect casting. This film has some of the best casting I've ever seen. Christopher Reeve as Superman. I mean, there's no denying it. He is the best Superman and will always be the best Superman. There's just no one else quite like him. He embodied the character of Superman. He was very patriotic. He was very strong. He was, you know, he perfectly symbolized hope. He really sold the hero side of Superman, but he also knew how to play two completely different characters, because we all know the silly disguise of the man in glasses, and he can get through Metropolis without, you know, people noticing him, and he's only wearing a pair of glasses, so... But he actually, the way he plays it, he actually sort of plays it as if Clark Kent's an idiot, like a complete bumbling idiot who's just self-conscious. He doesn't know what he wants to do, and he's kind of the hopeless romantic, and which is the complete opposite to Superman, who's very strong, he's very powerful, he's very courageous, he is the symbol of hope, and Clark Kent is like the symbol of why are we bothering, and it's fantastic. He really, really nailed it. Let's also talk about Margot Kidder as Lois Lane. She's really good in the film as well. She's got a lot of comedic jokes. She's got a lot of comedic moments in it. She has good comedic timing, I think, as an actress. And her chemistry with Christopher Reeve is fantastic. Also, Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor is still absolutely fantastic, because it's really been hard to get a really good Lex Luthor since him, because everyone else has been playing it so over the top. If you saw Batman Returns, but Gene Hackman really is Lex Luthor. Another thing I was really curious to see is the special effects, because films like Star Wars, the first one, which came out in '77, which was a year before this one, actually and most of it is actually timeless. You know, there are some effects of it that are dated, and you know, we can forgive that. But this film actually is also just like Star Wars. It holds up splendiferously. Make up a word there. And yeah, because I was curious about the flying scenes. How much of the green screen was going to be obvious? How obvious were the wires going to be? And it's really safe to say not that much of the green screen looks bad in this film. It really holds up. It looks better when he's flying at night, I think, because you can sort of hide the green screen a bit. But it still looks fantastic for its time, especially the wires. I mean, it actually looks like a person flying, and it is really magnificently done. And of course, we can't forget the ending shot: Superman flying and smiling into the camera. It's awesome. I mean, it's awesome. Also, in regards to problems, there are a couple. There is it's kind of nitpicky, you know. Some of the sets, especially the sets on these sets on Krypton, look atrocious. I mean, they really do look like sets. But I mean, again, it's from its time, you know. They were probably struggling with budgetary concerns to get these special effects to look good and stuff like that. But I honestly don't know all of it. Some of it I'm kind of guessing at, but some of the sets do look like sets. I was curious to see how much of the humour is dated. I don't think any of the humour is dated in this film. I think it holds up really, really well. Also, the whole scene where Superman turns back time, it's ridiculous. I mean, it really is silly. I mean, and it's so plot holey about, like, it would have, like, you know, Jimmy would have got back on the mountain and all that sort of stuff. It's very it's a silly plot hole, but it's only one major plot hole, and that's not that bad. If there's only one real glaring issue with it, what are you doing wrong? I think you're actually doing a fantastic job. Also, the film's very long. It's 2 hours 25 with credits. This is the extended version. It's the special edition version of this film, so it is longer. I do think the film should have been cut down by at least 10 minutes. I really don't think it needed to be 2.5 hours long, because, I mean, a superhero film only needs to be around the 2-hour mark. It's like when you've got a film like The Avengers, it would make sense for it to be, you know, 2.5 hours, because you've got a lot of characters to concentrate on. The audience are going to want to see a lot of these characters in action. Here we only have one superhero, so we can cut the runtime down a little bit. Yeah, that's my review on Superman. I absolutely love this film. I'm going to give it an A. Thanks for tuning in to Phantom Film Buff, and stay tuned for my double back-to-back Superman 2 review, because there's 2 versions of it. There's the theatrical and the Richard Donner version, so I'm going to be reviewing them back-to-back. There's going to be a much longer review. It's going to take some time to get that one out, so it's going to be a short while after this, but I'll still keep trying to get reviews out to you in the meantime. Take care, see you later. Phantom Film Buff, out.